Okay, hello everybody. So I'm gonna say some ideas about parshas behaloscha. Um, there are a few fascinating um, questions that could be asked, um, and um, so what we have is like this. We have it says Dabrel Aaron Ramarta Elov behaloscha Saneiros. So there's a famous machlok. Yes, Rashi over here says Laman is no parshas and Menor parshas Nasiim. When Aaron saw the Chanukas and Nasiim, his da'as became weak. That he was not with them with the Chanukah, with the inauguration or commemoration of the Mishkan. Lohu, not him, v'lo shivta. So Amalek Gash Baruch Hu Chayacha Gadol Shalcha Gadol Mishalhem. You know, your life, by your life, yours is greater Mishalhem because you Shahata Mata Gumeiti V'Saneris. Right? So, it's a little bit shver. The Ramban takes this Rashi to task in many ways, and the Ramban basically says that he says, look, this Rashi over here, it doesn't make a lot of sense because essentially Rashi is saying that somehow the compensation for the fact that Aaron was not able to come into to contribute to the Chanukah Sanasi to the Karbanos, that was the that was his problem. That's why he was upset. So so if that's the case, then it really just doesn't make any sense because again, why is Aaron upset that he can't contribute with the Chanukah of the Nasiim, with the karbanos that they bought? L'chera, he was bringing karbanos to the Mizbeach the entire time. So in the days of Miluim, that's number one. Number two, he was serving in the Mishkan for his entire life. That was his whole life's mission. So why is he upset about the fact that he didn't bring some karbanos in the beginning of the Chanukah when but actually did in the Miluim, which is the days that led up to the Mishkan being prepared and ready for Klal Yisrael to use and for the Shekhinah to be Shoveh, right, to come down. So first of all, he did. Second of all, why is he upset? His whole life revolves on the Mishkan. He's going to be using the Mizbeach to, the Chanukas Mizbeach, so it was called. So he's gonna be the one that brings the karbanos in that Mizbeach his whole life. Those are two kashas. The third kasha is that the Ramban says that okay, maybe the pshat is that the Aaron wanted the schar. Aaron wanted to bring in the dava, right? But this Indian was actually a tzivui. He had to do all those things. Hashem was mitzvah him too, and the reason why he was upset is because he wanted to bring in a dava. So, on that we have a very very simple, kash. The Gemara says that gadol mitzvah va'osa v'osa she'ena mitzvah va'osa. Right? The Gemara says mefurish explicitly that one who is commanded and does something with the understanding that he's commanded is greater than one who does something voluntarily, right? So that being the case, again, Aaron should not be upset that they're doing it voluntarily and he's doing it because he has to, because the person who does it, he is actually gadol. He actually is greater. So why is Aaron upset? How can that be the pshat? And then the Ramban says, lastly, Ramban says, even if you want to, even if you want to say all that, if that's the case that he wanted to do an adava for whatever reason, even though we said that doesn't make sense, like we just asked. But if let's say that that was the reason, and Aaron did want to bring an adava specifically, l'chayra, how is the simple shot of doing the Hatavas Aneros, how does that correlate to bringing in a dove? How does that make up for Aaron's, lack of feeling of connection because he didn't bring, the Karbanas along with the Nesian? I mean, L'chara, he has to, um, he has to do this. He has to. It says over here, right over here, you see it says Kasher Tiva Hashem. So, this is a Tiva as well. So how does the Neres make up for it? So I think in order really to be Taras Rashi, um, it has to be understood, what Ba'atzim, this idea of um, this idea of this sort of being mechanech, and how it's connected to Nedava, right? So what's clear basically is that, and even the Ramban intuited this in Rashi, that the pshat is that for some reason we have a few kinds of player. We have chinuch, right? Chanukas hamizbeach, right? Which is the same word as chinuch, and then you have nedava, right? And nedava means that you're doing it from your own heart, not because you were commanded. And you have what Aaron had, and he was mitzvah v'osa, right? So now, so essentially, the shaila really is, as the Ramban intuited, that there is a clear connection between this idea of someone being misnadev, being it on his own, he wants to give it, and the idea of chinuch per se, right? And so, what is the connection between those two concepts, right? There's clearly a connection because the Ramban is saying that, that the idea would be that Aaron is upset because he was not able to be misnadiv, right? And the nedava was towards the chinuch. So the chinuch is only done through nedava, and this is, by the construction of the entire Mishkan, we only find that Hashem asked for people who kol ish asher yidvenu libo tikchu trumasi, right? So you only take truma from someone who yidvenu libo, his heart is generous, it wants to do it, right? So the shela is, and again, you can ask the same kasha on that. Why taka is it true that HaKadosh Baruch Hu only wanted to take from people who were yidvenu libo? If Gadol Mitzvah didn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu want to give them the most car possible, right? Doesn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu want, us to get the most pleasure possible? That's the whole purpose of existence. So why didn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu command us to bring the stuff in the Mishkan? Why taka was it that he only wanted it from Isha, from Asher Yidvenu Libo, right? And we know that the Nesiim only brought these karbanos in last week's parsha because they failed to contribute adequately to the initial nedava of the Mishkan, because they said that they were going to wait for everybody else, and then by the time everybody else did it, there was nothing left to bring. So therefore, so we know that. So basically, you can see a clear chain of connection, right? There was a nedava in the Mishkan, right? The Nesiim were misatzel, they were lazy, they didn't bring a nedava in the Mishkan, therefore they did what they did in the parsha last week, which is they bought the karbanos. Now Aaron is jealous because the Nesiim bought the karbanos, which they bought because of the compensation to make up for the nedava aspect that they missed out on the initial bringing for the Mishkan. So you see how it clearly relates all the way back to the truma that was initially given in the Mishkan, and now Aaron is upset that he can't contribute in that way. So what is the connection between nedava and chinuch? And I think that there is a fascinating yesod over here, which I'm only really formulating in my head right now. I'm going to share with you, is that nedava is something that automatically is a sign and a show that the individual whom is performing the action that he's doing is fully conscious and aware and desires to do the action that he's doing. So when you have a beginning of a relationship, right? And you want to start it off, then the way that it has to happen is that there has to be a sense of a clear show of the fact that I want this. This is what I want. And therefore, while it's true that once the relationship, starts and goes into, right, then um once that all starts, it's true that there has to be, strict guidelines and structures in order for the relationship to stay, which is the mitzvos, right? And upkeeping those mitzvos is imperative, and that is where the real schar is. But as far as the foundation of any relationship, right, especially the one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it always has to be that you show that you want, you desire. This is what you're misnadev. Hello.
Good morning, Jay.
Hi.
Triple A, how you doing?